Dustline Promise, a Phoenix gay love story. The sky went the color of tea and then darker, the kind that makes traffic lights look like fossils. And a voice on the radio, steady, unfamiliar, somehow already mine, said my name like a seatbelt. Miguel, do not enter the I-17 underpass. Visibility down to 0 and pooling. Divert to Encanto Rec door B. I'll have ice nebulizers and charging ready. I drive the Valley Metro 35 down 35th Avenue. Evenings into night, a route that smells like salsa and coolant and sometimes optimism. I'm 29, Miguel Vega, born at St. Joe's, raised next to a swamp cooler that believed in me. The kind of bus operator who keeps a Sharpie behind the driver's panel for labeling lost water bottles like their children. Phoenix in July is a negotiation. You talk to the heat like it can bargain. Most days it listens with one ear, and then a haboob decides it wants the conversation. At 1842, the east went amber like a warning you can taste. I could see the wall of dust rolling down from Carefree like a low mountain learning to walk. People on the bus started narrating because that's what we do when weather becomes a fact. Look at that, dang, that's coming fast. A grandmother clutched a tote of tamales like a passport. A kid in a Diamondbacks tee pressed his fingers to the glass and discovered awe. The radio chirped with operations, streets, PD, and new thread in the braid. Public health. The voice that had said my name kept its calm like a glass of ice in an oven. This is Ryan at Encanto Rec opening door B as a cooling center. We've got albuterol, CPAP on generator, and volunteers with water who could be saints if we paid them better. Miguel, reroute at Thomas, avoid the I-17 dip. You get any riders in respiratory distress, I'll have a tech at the door with a spacer and a chair. He said my name like a seatbelt. Click. Breathe. My windshield turned to suede. The wipers did theater and nothing else. We went hazard lights slow, a steel room moving through brown velvet. I called back through the bus with the voice my instructor taught me, confident enough to borrow. We're safe. We're moving slow. If you need water, tell me. If you need air, we're going to door B at Encanto where the AC works harder than any of us. A man near the rear coughed with the frayed edge that makes you do math. He tapped a small inhaler like he could squeeze mercy out of plastic. 2 rows up, a woman adjusted a nasal cannula hooked to a battery concentrator that offered beeps like gossip. Ops to all, dust warning. Vis under a quarter mile. Expect blown signals. Avoid underpasses, came the patch. Then the seatbelt voice tucked back in like a hand. Miguel, don't take Osborne across the canal. We've got Brown out at the light and a stalled Civic. Thomas to 15th to Encanto. Door B will be a lighthouse. The bus hummed its reluctant hymn. I took Thomas slow, reading brake lights like scripture, and imagined the rec center, cinder block with fluorescent forgiveness, water in blue coolers, signs sharpied for cooling, enter here. The dust made the world small enough to fit in a hand. Good. I like small worlds. They get things done. But the part that would stick under my ribs hadn't happened yet. Encanto Park became a rumor first, the palm tops disappearing into chalk, and then a proof, a rectangle of light where a door had decided to be a definition. I nosed the 35 along the curb and opened the front. The air that hit us felt like a promise someone could actually keep. Cooled, filtered, human. A volunteer teen with a Whataburger visor, God bless America, wheeled a box fan past cones that took their priesthood seriously. He was there under the awning. Ryan, early 30s, Filipino white, scrubs under a Maricopa County polo, badge on a lanyard like a thesis. He had that look of people who can count respirations with their eyes without making it a performance. Miguel? He asked, because sometimes you match voice to face and watch the room get height. Ryan? I didn't mean to put everything I was feeling into 2 syllables, but apparently I'm that guy. Bring me your wheezers and your warm, and I'll hand you back pinks and calms, he said, half smile, all science. Then he was in the bus aisle before I could do the polite thing, kneeling without his knees complaining in front of the concentrator lady. Hey, Miss Serrano, he said. And the name made her shoulders slide down like she was getting permission. We're going to plug this into a generator that woke up in a good mood. You're doing everything right, Miss Serrano? I mouthed, impressed at the speed of saints. Driver's roster plus 2 minutes of human conversation and a guess, he murmured back. He handed me a paper cup, cold, sweating. Drink! Your voice needs water if it's going to keep doing that thing it did in there. What thing? I asked. Made 50 people less scared. He said it clinically and somehow tender. We moved the bus into the receiving lane they'd taped out with painter's tape and optimism. Inside, door B had learned new grammar. Intake table, coolers, pet corner with litter pans and leashes, a charging cathedral whose chords converged like the city's map. Teen volunteers announced names as they returned phones, like DJs at a wedding. Serrano is back on 72%. Amen. Someone had scribbled, Take 2 slow sips on a whiteboard that I almost kissed for its wisdom. A grandmother fanned a baby with a church program and asked me if the storm had a name. Haboob, I said, and she rolled the word around like a lozenge and decided it was silly enough to forgive. Wait, don't miss this detail. Under the basketball hoop, someone had written, "Breathe is a boss, let it work," and you could feel the room agreeing. I kept shuttling, block by block, busful by busful. The dust played hide-and-seek with traffic lights. The world tried to be sepia permanently, and then offered small blue slices through apartment windows. On the third run, a boy with a spacer bumped my elbow and announced he had named his inhaler Kevin. I told him that was wise. Kevin is a good ally name. The radio ticked like a metronome for a different song. Miguel, if you pull west of 19th Ave, don't stop under the Grand Overpass. We've got stagnant air pockets and a stalled semi. CTC wants you to stage 2 blocks back and text me if you peel any walkers. He was keeping me from the places where air goes to sulk. There's a type of love that sounds like do not. He spoke it fluently. We were getting good at it. Me delivering the warm, wheeze-prone, lost and proud. Him turning the lost into found with water cups and small orders. Every time I rolled up, he'd clock me with that quick scan and ask, "You okay?" I had learned my part in our ritual. I keep being. And he'd answer, "Me too." And somehow the room would lift a half-inch. Then the power lied. The rec lights dipped to a low cinema. The hum of AC dropped to a throat clear, and the charging cathedral looked up at us like children whose teacher had left the room. Generator 1 wheezed, 2 bragged, 3 made a noise you never want machines to make. You could feel the room find its fear. Ryan didn't panic. He does this trick where he turns into task list with a pulse. "Phones off unless calling loved ones," he said to the room, voice firm, kind, never for show. CPAP to circuit A, nebulizers to C, charge station paused, will rotate every 15. "Miguel, you got inverters in that bus?" 2, I said, and a splitter I don't introduce to people until we're desperate. Desperate is spelled tonight. Let's make the lungs greedy. We ran a cord crochet to the bus, split loads like an adult, and bought ourselves 20 minutes of good air while Public Works rolled a drum of diesel through a door that wasn't designed for drums. When the AC remembered its mission, 4 people cried without sound, and 2 people laughed like that's how you move tears through a system. The part that was going to be my rehook came next without warning. An ambulance popped to the curb and only 1 EMT emerged. The driver's seat was empty. The radio inside was doing its little dance alone. The EMT had a boy in his arms, 6, sweat shining like guilt, and a look that said help faster than words. Power died on our station, our neb rigged to car adapter. We lost the draw crossing McDowell, he told Ryan, already moving. He's tight. Chair 2, Ryan said, which apparently is code for the chair that works every time. And then to me, because we had made ourselves a small team out of radio waves and luck. Talk to his mom for 1 minute like time obeys you. I'll do the albuterol song. I sat by the mom with the face of every person who's ever had a child become a room, and I told her true things. Your kid is not his numbers. Your kid is your kid. He's breathing. We're making the air easy. Look at me, look at me. Kevin is a silly name for an inhaler, but he'll do the job. She smiled, tiny, involuntary. Ryan coached the boy through slow sips of air from a spacer while counting like a magician counts coins. The boy's ribcage stopped doing math like a panicked accountant. His color slid toward strawberry from plum. The mom said thank you in a way that sounded like a hymn someone invented, and then the wind changed its mind. Dust became nothing. The wall fell behind us like a curtain closing. A hazard down Thomas started pretending to be a road again. People's shoulders remembered they liked lower. Normal tried to bargain its way back. That's when you get sloppy. That's when the next thing walks in wearing a disguise. Operations pinged. We've got a dozen walkers attempting the I-17 underpass for shortcuts. Pays en route. Any bus nearby can create visual barrier. Translation, human beings doing human. A bad idea plus fatigue equals ambulance. I'm 2 minutes, I said. Ryan heard and took a step closer like you can loan a person your spine. Bring me anybody who looks like no became their whole night, he said. And Miguel, don't put your bus where water gets to make introductions. At the dip, the world was a funnel. PD lights stabbed through the last of the dust. People, teens, a guy in a FedEx polo, a woman in sandals, argued with concrete about distance like it would apologize. I parked big and obvious and did the dad voice I had never practiced and had apparently been waiting to use. No shortcuts tonight. Look at my face. Up the ramp and across on McDowell. I will be right there with the bus. I'll drop you door B, everybody gets cold air and water, and then you can blame me in the morning. They grumbled. They obeyed. Good. I prefer grumpy to dead. As we loaded, a small dog in a canvas bag licked my knuckles like that was part of the contract. The canvas had Sharpie on it. Pico, good boy. I added a heart with my own Sharpie because I am corruptible. Encanto took us in like we'd been expected. Teen DJs announced battery percentages like election returns. Someone cracked open oranges and the room turned citrus. Ryan looked at me, took one beat to inventory the bus-shaped hole in the world I'd made, and asked, "You okay?" You know the rest? I keep being. Me too. Ritual saves time. Ritual is portable faith. He had a way of putting his hand on the back of a chair that made you trust chairs. He had a way of speaking to the room like the room could decide to be better and then did. After the worst had unworst itself by half, we found ourselves by the supply table, the one with the tape and laminated signs that say water, rest, call here. The dust had left a thin crunch on the world that the mops hadn't gotten to. The AC had that heroic tone like a runner at mile 24. The kid who named his inhaler Kevin waved at me with the solemn dignity of knights, apparently. "Where'd you learn the voice?" I asked him. What voice? He looked genuinely alarmed, which made me like him more. The one that says, "Do not like you're giving a present instead of taking a toy?" He thought a second. "My Lola," he said. "Filipino grandma. She could make 4 cousins stop running at a pool with Miguel more skill than a lifeguard. She made no sound like a way to live." He smiled. "Also respiratory therapy school. They teach you to count breaths and tell the truth while counting. It's a good combo." "I drive and I talk," I said. "That's my degree." "You do something else," he said. "You name people." "You learned Miss Serrano in 2 minutes and made it stick. That's how bodies decide to trust the room they're in." He had a paper cup this time, and he handed it to me like a small ceremony. Water. Sip. I obeyed because I'm smart and because he had converted no into a love language, and I wanted to be fluent. We were interrupted by the kind of sound that puts every rescue worker on draft. A cough that turns into a stridor before finishing the thought. A boy near the pet corner, 10, skinny, glasses, had that scary wheeze that sounds like a balloon doing math. Ryan knelt so fast the floor squeaked. "Hey, you're breathing like a superhero who forgot their cape," he said, calm like he owns the patent. "We have capes." He coordinated a nebulizer like an orchestra and looked at me. "Can you be the person who counts the in and out?" He watches people when they're watching him, so I counted, slow, out loud, like a metronome doing kindness. 1 and 2 and 3. The room followed. The boy's chest stopped trying to leave the building. The dog in the canvas bag, Pico, good boy, put his chin on the boy's knee and declared this present acceptable. "Wait, don't miss this." The dog calmed the boy calmed his mother, the mother calmed herself, the room calmed. The AC got to be a hero without the whole scene depending on it. I don't know what brand of miracle that is, but I'm buying it in bulk. Hours do weird geometry on nights like that. Time puddles and then sprints. By 23:30, the dust had mostly gone on to bother Goodyear. The alerts had downgraded from urgent to attentive, and PHX Ready tweeted a photo of a wall cloud with the caption, "We'll be here all night." Me too, I thought, and then realized I'd stolen our ritual for my interior monologue and was fine with the theft. He found me by the door B awning, where the air finds you first, where the Klieg lights turn skin honest. He stood close like we had earned an inch of world together without signing for it. The room behind us had softened into snores and phone pings and the gentle whir of machines you don't notice when they work. His hair had collected one reluctant spiral of dust that refused to leave. "I wanted to take it out with my fingers and didn't because we're grown and this was our job and PG-13 has rules." "We held it," he said. "It held us," I said. He smiled like a corner you'd round by choice. He did the thing we don't name in the building but cameras will learn. Leaned his forehead to mine for one careful beat, consent-sized, small, honest, enough. A security camera above the door turned with the curiosity of a cat who knows the policy manual and is choosing to be cool about it. We stepped apart because a volunteer yelled, "Ryan!" with the tone you don't ignore, and a clipboard that needed his signature more than I needed his face. Timing enjoys theatrics. The rest is an arrangement we keep because keeping it feels like a good job done well. He stocks spare spacers in my glove box because I keep meeting kids named Kevin. I keep a Sharpie in his badge pouch because labels are love at 2 a.m. We made a rule with no ceremony. When NWS paints a polygon over the valley, he texts here. When operations says detours for dust, I text me too. He's the voice that tells me do not without making it a scold. I'm the bus that shows up where people insist walking is faster, until the air makes that a lie. A week later, Maricopa County posted their recap. Encanto stats. Gallons of water, cooling hours, a teen volunteer lifting a box fan like a trophy. The last slide was a grainy CCTV still from door B. 2 figures under an awning, one in scrubs, one in a Valley Metro polo, foreheads inclined for exactly 1 heartbeat. The caption, written by someone who understood people. Small, honest, enough. He texted it to me with dinner. And then a second message always. Because I am. I showed up at a place on McDowell that grills asado you can smell from a lane away. He told me about flow rates and peak expiratory, and how lungs are both fragile and crooks. They'll steal air if you give them a window. I told him about signal recovery, detours, the time the surfer bro from Tempe admitted he thought haboob was a made-up word until the sky shook his vocabulary. We laughed like the air couldn't hear us anymore and it didn't matter if it could. When I say I love him, I don't mean the billboard version. I mean I love the way he puts do not between people and water or heat or fear and makes it feel like a gift. I mean I love the way he says you okay? Like it's both audit and hug. I mean I love that he counts respirations and then counts me among them. I mean that we built a thin, durable bridge out of a radio, a door, and a word you can make yourself fluent in if you stay long enough. Enough. Haboobs happen. Brownouts do their little tantrums. The bus needs oil and the AC needs prayer and people need names. When the air goes sideways and the door needs to be a definition again, he is the voice on the net that says my name like a seatbelt. I am the bright rectangle that arrives on the curb and opens into cold water breaths. I'm here, I say into the mic when Ops tells us dust advisory and I feel my city pull taut. Me too, he says in my ear, and I picture door B, cones. Tape, kid with the visor, dog named Pico. Good boy. The whiteboard that promises breathe is a boss, and I put the bus into drive. Phoenix. Stubborn and funny and always 2 degrees more than the forecast. Let's us try again. And again. And on the nights when the sky turns to tea, we answer the radio and each other with the same ritual. Do not where the air punishes, bring them to door B, small, honest, enough.